How many takes am I on? Another one. Hello, everyone. I'm Baffy the Saffy, and I know that I've been kind of on a little bit of a YouTube break, but I figured I'd try to record my thoughts and feelings about a certain thing that's come up recently, been brought up more by KSON, and I honestly wasn't certain if I wanted to like even record anything about it, but I kind of just had this like I kind of need to say something about it because it sort of rubs up against something that is kind of important to me, that is a bit of a worrying point for me with the whole like creator community and especially the fan community. um and there's something in the way that it came up, something, about how it was addressed and everything, that really made me want to say something about it. So I don't plan on doing a whole lot of reaction videos, especially not to like argue with people or to debate or anything, because it's not the kind of culture that I want to cultivate. It's not it's not the energy that I want in my community. So I'm talking about this largely because it's something that is actually really important to me. So let's go ahead and switch on over here. And there we are. Okay. So we're gonna be watching, as you can see, right above me, False's lovely face from Things Vtubers Say. The stream that KSON did was in Japanese, so it needed to be translated, and thankfully, False was able to get his hands on a translated transcript of the stream. So we're gonna listen to him read through things, and I'm going to be reacting, responding to the things that that are a little more of a sticking point to me. So we're starting a little bit further in, and that is because what she talks about at the beginning is it's basically defining what a weeb is and what weeb has historically meant and everything, and how she identifies as a weeb and how she, used to use weeb as a good thing and how weeb is gender neutral, stuff like that. And then it gets into like the serious topic that she wanted to bring up here, and that's where we will be jumping in.
Up till now, I've used the term weeb in a good way, but lately regarding the manners of the weeb, and I want the Japanese people to hear this too. Basically, their manners have been taking a strange turn. In VTuber culture, there's the concept of the gechikoi, of being really in love with the streamer, and some people get angry about a streamer having a significant other.
Now, I think a lot of us knew that this was a thing. I don't think a lot of us knew the term gechikoi. I believe it is. I might have butchered it somewhere in there. I almost certainly did. But didn't have a name for it. But yeah, no. This is a really kind of gross thing, and it's something that sort of, it's something that's sort of a transplant from idol culture, and it's kind of hard to separate VTuber culture from idol culture, largely because starting out, VTubing was largely a Japanese thing, and it was largely an agency thing, and those agencies ran the whole VTuber setup like an idol company. So it was really, it's really kind of hard to separate the two, largely just because of its foundations, where it comes from. Obviously, VTubing has come a long way from just being a corporate agency idol thing. It is now has a thriving, sort of indie community and everything, and there is a whole lot of like smaller groups and stuff like that, things that aren't really kind of agencies, but they're, kind of agencies. But yeah, no.
I have no problem at all with the gechikoi concept, and fans supporting creators is great. That's not the issue. I'm talking about the unicorn troublemakers.
And yet it kind of is the issue, isn't it? It kind of, the whole gechikoi, the whole, being like obsessed and infatuated with the VTuber it is a problem though, isn't it? Isn't it? Because what that is it's a parasocial relationship. For those of you who don't know, a parasocial relationship is well, as Bo Burnham described it, you don't love me, you love the idea, of me. You don't know me, but that's okay. I believe he said it's a parasocial relationship. It's entirely one-sided and ultimately destructive, but please continue buying my shit forever. And that is basically what a parasocial relationship is, especially when it's a celebrity entertainer, selling, merch and that. That is essentially what a parasocial relationship is. It is being obsessed to the point of like infatuation with someone and just like over investing in this entirely one-sided relationship where you feel like there is some intense, sort of connection, and you put so much of your interest, of your love, of your passion into it, and the other person does not know who you are. The other person is just an entertainer who's there to entertain anyone who shows up to their YouTube channel or their Twitch stream or whatever other platforms are trying to rival those two right now. Best of luck to them. Um, but so that really is a problem though. But that's something that will come up again later. Is her sort of ambivalence, her acceptance of it.
The ones who flip out when they disagree with something. And now it seems that the term weeb has been used to refer to those guys instead. I don't mind if fans dislike their favorite streamer having a significant other. The way they connect with creators is up to them.
But that's not connecting with the streamer. That's not connecting with the streamer. That is developing an obsession with the streamer. That's connecting with the streamer because you believe they are single and that somehow means that you can get a relationship with them. That's not connecting with the streamer. That's obsessing with the streamer. That's stalker behavior, dude. That's not connecting. Or at the very least, it's not connecting in a good way, KSON.
However, there are people saying things like, quote, I only support female creators who don't collab with guys. That's how weebs should be. They spend all their energy in putting down female creators with even a hint of a guy in their life. This is very bad. This is in fact terrible, as I love the attitude of all that matters is that the creator, he or herself, is happy.
Or themselves. Getting into maybe a little bit of semantics. Not really, but remember that statement. Remember that statement.
Hint of a guy in their life. This is very bad. This is in fact terrible, as I love the attitude of all that matters is that the creator, he or herself, is happy.
All that matters is that the creator is happy. That's the attitude. That's the attitude that KSON is saying she believes in.
Up till now, weebs have been people who don't really care about who hangs out with who. But now they're picking on those who interact with guys. There used to be only a few bad apples. Now the general trend is heading that way. And some people who consider agency VTubers who obey their agency's orders without question real creators.
Something to point out to people is that when people say like, oh, it's just a few bad apples, the saying is a few bad apples spoils the bunch. And as someone who has worked with produce, when you have fruit that's going bad, and especially if it's got like mold growing on it, you need to remove that immediately because it will spread to fruit that is touching it. That's what the saying is. A few bad apples spoils the bunch.
As a result of a bad minority growing louder in Japan, it's clouding the overseas viewers' view. Can't we go back to when we just love VTubers in general, regardless of gender or even race?
I would love that. Unfortunately, that's honestly a bit of a really blind, sort of ignorant take, honestly. There's no real going back to a time. Saying going back to a time when people were, when people would be fans of VTubers regardless of gender or race, that's not how it used to be. You're nostalgic for something that didn't exist because originally it was a Japanese thing and it was an agency thing and it was a more traditional idol thing, which meant it was a girls only sort of thing. There was this sort of idea that like men aren't idols. Boys aren't idols. It's starting to change. Boy idol groups are starting to be more acceptable, but originally, it was a girls only thing. It tended to be a Japanese only thing. Um, and even as it expanded into the West, it then became a Japanese or white thing. Ask any black creator, ask any black VTuber, or any VTuber of color, really, what it's been like, and they will tell you that there is racism in the community. We don't like to talk about it because it's an uncomfortable thing, but it is something that we should talk about. It is something that has started to go away, that has started to become less prominent, but we need to move forward on this. But not entirely the point I'm trying to make here, but something that should be said.
You can dislike who you want, it's your discretion, but now Japanese idols are getting severely misunderstood. And I'm not pointing fingers at idols, but it's getting to where they're being propped up as an absolute good, and those who go the other way, an absolute bad.
And yeah, this is just getting into how it's VTuber culture sort of starts in idol culture. It starts with this idea that the say so, that the pure idol, sort of thing is what you're after, is what you're after, is what you should be. And so it's it's really kind of weird because these are actually things that I didn't actually pick up the first time through because I was busy thinking about, about other things that we will get to, but I'm actually now picking up on a few things that I didn't really notice until I started, recording and actually really picking through a lot more finely. Is that KSON seems to have this weird idea that we are the VTuber culture is moving towards these things and that we need to go back to a better time. But this is actually a bit of a return to the original very ugly form. The idea that idols are are what they have to be is how VTuber culture started. This is this is not us becoming this. This is that thing that was there from the beginning and became a little quieter, getting a little louder. But
Apparently, the range of what is considered doable is shrinking. I have quite a few friends, you see. Those under agencies, those that are not, and also those with big boobs, and also those without. But wake up, weebs! You're allowed to support anyone you want. Apparently, there's been growing hate directed against those, for example, in V-shoujo, who do whatever they want. There are those who believe that true weebs are those who support girls who firmly bind themselves to corporations and thoroughly erase all traces of guys in their lives.
and again, I don't see how this is a news flash, especially knowing, what KSON's past life was. Knowing what KSON's past life is and knowing what she knows about agency VTuber life, it's just weird to me how she has this strange idea that this is some strange new thing that is happening. But I'm just repeating myself at this point.
Weebs, what happened to you guys? I understand how important money is for businesses. Even so, this is a severe situation. Personally, I think that someone who's 100% into becoming a VTuber shouldn't be getting a significant other. That's my personal opinion. But I just think that if someone is serious about VTubing, they'd be putting all their time and effort into it.
And here's the crux of the issue for me. Here's the real big problem, and what really motivated me to start recording this, to start saying something about this, is that, I mean, first of all, that really kind of random comment about, like, I understand that, like, businesses need to make money, and feels like a bit of a non sequitur. But all that aside, the message that KSON is trying to express here is really muddled, and it sort of undercuts itself because she has this attitude. She like earlier I told you, remember that earlier she said, let's go back to the time when the streamer being happy was the most important thing. She believes that the streamer being happy is what matters most. Well, let me tell you something. There is a fellow VTuber, an absolute sweetheart. Hani loves you. Who I consider to be a friend, and she pointed out on her Twitter that she lost a lot of followers when she started talking more about her boyfriend, and how people were upset. Like, oh my gosh, how could she do this to us? Blah 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 blah. And it's like people attacking her for being in a relationship is not about her being happy. Like, that's not making her happy. Being attacked for having a boyfriend is not making her happy. So what about that? Like, what about that, KSON? What if being in a relationship makes people happy? If it's really all about the streamer being happy, then why can't they have a partner? But let's also talk about the fact that she's like, I believe if you're going all in on being a VTuber, then you shouldn't be getting into a romantic relationship. You should be entirely focused on VTubing. You shouldn't be putting any time or effort into making a relationship. That is so monstrously unhealthy. And if it had been some small indie, with this really shitty take, then I probably wouldn't say anything. But I feel like I have to say something because it's KSON, because of how big a name she is in the industry, because of the audience that she has, because of the reach that she has. And I don't think that I'm going to, I don't think that my reach is going to surpass hers. I do not have any delusions of that. I am a small indie. But I feel like it's most important to speak out when the big names are saying some really bad things. When the people who are, who have the biggest platforms are spreading bad ideas, are just spreading just really toxic garbage. People need to come out, and people need to challenge that. And instead of just allowing these people and their massive platforms and their massive followings to just absorb it without any kind of challenge, without any, contradiction from more sensible people. And, you can say like, oh, Baff, you think you're just so smarter, more sensible than KSON? Like, I'm not, I don't think I'm smarter than her. She's certainly a capable businesswoman. She's probably smarter than me in a lot of ways. But I do think that even smart people can have bad ideas. Smart people can make bad decisions. There have been culty programmers who helped get people with medical degrees, like actual MDs, medical doctors, like deprogrammed from like cult stuff. And that anyone, no matter how smart they are, can make bad decisions, can have bad opinions. Intelligence does not make you immune to terrible ideas. But it's the whole thing is like really kind of muddled, like I said. And it sort of has this idea of like, she says that, well, what's important is that, we should be, allowing the streamer to just, if they're happy, then that's the point. you know but and people are attacking, and saying like, I don't support any VTubers. I don't support any female VTubers that have any interaction with men, period. If they have any interaction with like men in or outside of the industry, bam, bam, cut them loose. They're gone. They're done. I do not support them. And she says that like it's a bad thing, but then she co-signs that sort of attitude. It's like saying, no, you're bad for having this opinion, and for expressing this opinion, but also I agree with this opinion. Like, I agree with this opinion, and I support people, choosing how they engage with VTubers, based on these opinions. But shame on you for having these opinions. It's so weird. And the fact that she obsesses over like the reputation of weebs really makes it seem like she's more interested in what this is doing to the reputation of weebs. She's like, weebs, what happened to you? And it's like, what do you mean what happened to them? Like, you talk about this like it's a bad thing. but you say it multiple times that you support the idea of these parasocial relationships, and you support the idea that VTubers should not be getting into romantic relationships, that they should just be 100% focused on being a VTuber and not have any sort of, like, deep personal romantic relationships, at all. And you support people, engaging with VTuber content based on these beliefs. So it's like, what exactly are you trying to say? Because, like, on the one hand, you could say, like, she doesn't actually care about the antis, and believe me, these people are antis. This is anti-behavior. When you're attacking VTubers simply because they have a romantic partner, that's anti-behavior. That is just, like, negative and hostile behavior towards, towards VTubers. That's anti-behavior. You might not like it, but it's what it is. And so she co-signs anti-behavior, and then sort of is, and then sort of gets all like, weebs, what happened to you, as if it's bad, but she co-signs it. So does she have a problem with it? Apparently. Does she have a problem with these sort of sentiments? No, apparently not. Apparently she's not only okay with it, she agrees with a lot of it. Is she worried about what this does to the reputation of weebs? Apparently. But she co-signs so much of it. So does she really feel like weebs are taking a bad hit to the reputation because of this? I don't know. The only thing that she hasn't really sort of, like, double talked herself on is the whole idea that, that Japanese people need to be, like, quiet, reserved, and not express themselves, and that, and that women need to, women VTubers need to submit themselves to agencies in order to be good VTubers and whatnot, which is bad, and I'm glad that she didn't agree with that. I would be surprised, knowing her history with VTuber agencies. I'd be surprised if she co-signed that idea. I'd be horrified and confused if she co-signed that idea. But that seems to be the only thing that she's really, that she's taken a, that she's, that she's expressed her, her distaste for, and not immediately just walked back. So yeah, let's continue.
There are also those that say real Japanese don't assert their own views. Those who assert their own views aren't real Japanese. They obey everything they're ordered to. The girls who obey everything they're ordered without complaint are real Japanese. And those who support those who assert their own views aren't real weebs. Real VTubers should all be obedient. All the others are harlots.
Harlots. Just stamp that scarlet letter on me. But yeah, no. So, like I said, that's, like, the one thing that she has taken a stance against. And yes, Kaiser Kazar, this it is some quasi-racist bullshit. It is a really strange sort of take on traditional Japanese culture. This idea of social harmony, and not, don't rock the boat. Don't do anything that is disruptive towards society and whatnot. But I mean, even that's starting to change in this day and age. There's a bit more value put on personal expression. It's largely in, like, the younger generations. But it's nice to see that change.
For some reason, creators like those are being propped up as model creators. It's basically turning into a cult. I can only say that's seriously wrong. Weebs are those who really adore Japanese culture. And if Japanese culture is turning to that direction, the weebs will too. But there's a difference between following guidelines and being a slave. Being a slave is not the most beautiful part of Japanese culture, guys. If you're all into that slavery stuff, VTubing will be over in 5 years.
I do believe that. If you want to enforce this idea that, like, all VTubers need to chain themselves up to an agency, that's that's probably going to cause, I don't know if YouTube will be dead in 5 years, but it would certainly be a lot more bland, because I mean, this isn't just about like every VTuber should be with an agency. Every VTuber should toe the company line perfectly. And I don't think people realize exactly how much like agency VTubers, like HoloLive members, um, step out of line. Flashing back to a graduated member, Kiryu Coco, she was, if she was famous for, for crossing the line and for getting in trouble with management and everything. And she was one of the most beloved VTubers in Hololive. And even a lot of the like Hololive EN has really, stepped out of the line, has really, broken convention and everything. So yeah, I do believe that if you not only insist that every VTuber needs to be shacked up to an agency, but also be quietly obedient to the company, toe the company line, never step a toe past, then yeah, that will be the start of the downfall of VTubers, because it's gonna kill the ability for VTubers to really express themselves.
Say goodbye to all your Oshis. If it gets to the point where all the major VTubers are mere slaves, it's all over. Will I get bashed for saying this? I'm beyond caring about that. I'm just feeling alarmed at the current situation. Part of me feels that Japanese culture is being made light of, and it really rubs me the wrong way. I'm not telling you guys to not support those creators. What I am saying is what's most important is the creator's own happiness.
And here she goes back to the sentiment. And again, I don't know what she believes here. I don't know what she believes here. Because you're like, what's most important is the creator's happiness. But you also believe that, it seems like she's drawing like a lot of like really sort of like arbitrary lines over what is and is not acceptable, and the lines sort of double back and cross over itself like at like multiple points, and it's just this really confusing set of boundaries, where some things where it's like this is permissible but not in this very specific way, but it's shameful that this thing is happening, but I understand it, but I understand this part of it, and blah blah blah, and it's just yeah. So that's really just my thoughts on the matter. um I I do believe that we need to continue moving forward. That we need to continue moving forward with the progress that we have been making, in sort of, sort of making the VTuber community something that is open to everyone. People of all genders, all races, all ethnicities, presentation, whatever, allow people to be whatever kind of VTuber that they want. We've taken a lot of strides forward. There's nothing that we need to, there's no nostalgic, golden age that we need to go back to. We need to keep moving forward. We need to keep moving forward for all the people who suffered under these nostalgic times that some people have. We need to move to a point where people can just enjoy VTuber content, and anyone who wants to be a VTuber can be a VTuber. People of color should be comfortable being a VTuber. We shouldn't have to hear like negative crap about oh, black VTubers. What? It's like, yeah, no. A VTuber who is a black person. Yes. There are black people. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. And it is fine. It is okay. It is good for them to be in the VTuber community. It's great for queer people to be in the VTuber community. This is an amazing place for people to really find themselves, explore themselves, and present however they want to be, Allow people to be in the VTuber community, because being in the VTuber community can be so helpful. I've seen, people come out as queer or redefine their queer identity just because being able to act through their VTuber model has allowed them to, has allowed them to present themselves in different ways, ways that don't necessarily match up to the way that they were born, and has just allowed them to explore themselves, has allowed them to, really discover more of, the details of who they are. A good friend of mine, Nico McGoat, recently put out a tweet thread talking about how they sort of changed up, the kinds of language that they, like to use for themselves and that they want others to use for them. And it's because they've had the opportunity to be a VTuber and sort of be flexible with how they present themselves, that they have gotten to do this, that they have gotten to discover more about them. And that's amazing and it's beautiful. We need to move forward to a point where that is not just the prevailing opinion, but the dominating opinion. An open and broad community is good, and we need to move towards that. But we can't sit here and coddle toxic parts of the community that want to hold on to the old ways, who want to hold on to the really toxic, negative, really possessive and objectifying idol culture days. We can't coddle those people, and we can't sit here and act like it's okay, because it's not okay. It's not okay when your Oshi is an object, is a being, is a thing that exists to be wanted and to be desired. It's not normal to be obsessed and infatuated with a VTuber. That's not healthy. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for your Oshi either. It's not healthy for the VTuber either. And I don't know what I was expecting from KSON, but it wasn't that. I'm gonna be honest, I do not know what I was expecting, but it fucking was not that. But yeah, that's the end of my thoughts here. This went on a lot longer than I meant it to, and this is probably going to have a terrible watch time, but that's fine. It's fine. What mattered was getting these thoughts out and, being able to, express my frustrations with things. And yeah. Hopefully next video, well, the next video will actually likely be the video where I talked about the VOD where I talked about boyfriend, girlfriend / dating experience videos and parasocial relationships. But after that, hopefully the next the next thing that I edit down and put on YouTube will be more positive and funny and whimsical. But until then, thank you very much for watching. If you're still watching right now, goddamn, you're a trooper. Thank you for being here. And hopefully I will see you on a stream. And until then, ta-ta, darlings.